This is State of Arizona versus Lori Daybell. Go ahead and announce.
Lori Daybell won't give us any information that they found. They won't talk to us at all because apparently there was a conflict. But they have interviews of every single person that is on my list, with the exception of one.
Are you still wanting to proceed to trial at the end of this month?
Yes, Your Honor.
Lori Daybell's back in court, and she's insisting on keeping her trial date, even at the cost of an expert witness. She's also thinking about testifying. So we are grading Counselor Daybell. And the search for a missing University of Pittsburgh student may be stalling. Sudiksha Konanki's parents now saying they believe that she's dead. And the person of interest in her case is now free to go home. Also this hour, the new docuseries on Karen Reed is coming into the courtroom. The accused killer's legal and TV worlds both trending in true crime. Plus, we're getting you all caught up on the toxic roommate murder trial. One family's 18-year-long search for justice could be nearing a resolution. It's all coming up next for you right here on Opening Statements. Good Wednesday morning to you, and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Are you ready for some coffee and some court? We got a great show planned for you, so let's get started. Grab that cup of coffee right now. It's time for my opening statement. What did you have for lunch yesterday? The LA prosecutor had Robert Baker. She annihilated him. His pants were on fire and she was pouring gasoline on the flames, making sure the jury saw all of his lies just blowing up in that courtroom. Baker was like a broken record at one point when she was crossing him on his letter to his lover Monica, trying to explain things. He claims Beth Silverman, the prosecutor, reduced him to the point that all Baker would say was, "I did write that letter. I did write that letter," over and over and over again. And yeah, you did a murder too, you felon. Robert Baker destroyed a family and took an innocent man's life. Fabio Cementilli should be alive today. His children should still have their dad. And his clients should still have their favorite hairstylist. But no, because Baker acted to kill him, and he didn't act alone. Did you know that Monica never asked Baker if he did it, if he murdered her husband? What does that tell you about her? Wouldn't you want to know if your lover murdered the man you're married to? You know, she can sit there all day long looking like Grumpy Cat with that frown on her face, but if I'm on that jury, I'm seeing right through it. I think she frowns because she was found out. Police and prosecutors are trying to hold her accountable, and she doesn't like it. That is what I see, my friends. You know, I hope and I pray that Fabio Cementilli gets justice. He was betrayed in an unspeakable way. He deserved far better. May he rest in peace, and may his family get some peace with the decision of the jury. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
She got mad and she would grab me right in the manhood. She had kicked me in the back down our concrete steps. I don't know what I was thinking.
In Kentucky, the military wife murder trial for Jordan Henning resumes this morning. You'll recall court was dark on Tuesday. It's going to start up at 9 a.m. Eastern, and I will take you there live as soon as it does. In New Hampshire, we've got testimony continuing at 10:30 a.m. Eastern in the bad blood shooting case for Jason Levesque. And in North Dakota, we've got a brand new trial for you that is resuming the toxic roommate murder trial of Nicole Rice. She's accused of killing her roommate 18 years ago. Trial kicked off on Tuesday. It's going to restart at 2 p.m. Eastern. And now let's go to our top story for you as the family of missing University of Pittsburgh student Sudiksha Konanki is asking that she be declared dead. A judge has ordered the release of the man believed to be the last person to see her alive. Take a look at this scene. This is Tuesday. Joshua Riibe appeared in a Dominican courtroom where the judge ruled that the 22-year-old has cooperated with authorities in everything that has been asked of him, while adding that he is a witness and he cannot be detained. Sudiksha's parents also spoke to the media on Tuesday near their Virginia home. In a tearful statement obtained by WKYC, the missing 20-year-old's father tries to accept his daughter may never return home.
It is with deep sadness and heavy. No. And heavy heart that we are coming to the terms with the fact that our daughter has drowned. This is incredibly difficult for us to process. We kindly ask you to keep our daughter in your prayers.
So what's next in the search for Sudiksha Konanki? Everyone's hearts are breaking for her parents. Where do they go from here? Does it stop? Let's bring in our guests. I'm so pleased to have with me private investigator and military veteran, also a veteran from the NYPD, Manuel Gomez, who's been following the case from the outset and has been in touch with Sudiksha's parents, and criminal defense and civil rights attorney, Kesia Early. Good morning to you both. Manuel, let me begin with you. Is it over?
Unfortunately, I would say it is, because the family is almost exonerated. Riibe. They have said that now they believe that he didn't kill the girl, okay? And there's a couple of things here that we need to take very special attention to that nobody really has. One, he showed no remorse in this whole case. There is no new statement of him saying, I hope she's safe, what can I do to help her, anything, This guy has the same look on his face like Casey Anthony, who killed her daughter, okay? There is no doubt in my mind, all right, that this guy is guilty, okay? This guy has changed his story 4 times. And one of the things that he did was, as a lifeguard, he said he dragged her from under the arm and then pulled her to shore and then rescued her. Then he goes back to his room, but he doesn't tell any of his roommates, hey, I just saved the girl's life. He told nobody. He's 20 years old. You just had a traumatic event like that and you told nobody? Come on. And the technique that he described was improper. The proper way to save somebody drowning like that, if you're a lifeguard, and I know the technique, is you would put both arms up underneath them, and then you would roll back and then have the person's head facing up so that they were not taking in water. The technique he described was totally improper. These are some of the discrepancies that the investigators in this case have dropped the ball on. And now the fact that the family has said, hey, we don't believe he did it, you just gave this guy scot-free clearance to leave and come home like nothing happened.
Manuel, thank you so much for that. I want to read to you both a statement from Michael Chapman. He is the sheriff in Loudoun County, Virginia, where Sudiksha is originally from and where her parents still live. And he said, quote, Sudiksha's family has expressed their belief that she drowned. While a final decision to make such a declaration rests with authorities in the Dominican Republic, we will support the Konanki family in every way possible. And I'm going to show you both a look at what's been going on since March the 6th when she disappeared. There's been a search of the beach area, a search of the surrounding area using drones, helicopters, divers, boats, police dogs. More than 300 different agents have been on the ground looking for Sudiksha Konanki, and the FBI has been assisting. Kesia, let me go to you next, please, with how all of that effort didn't yield any answers, and it's so frustrating to everyone, is it not?
It is. And while I agree with my colleagues' analysis of the investigation and some of the statements or the inconsistent statements that Mr. Riibe made, from a defense perspective, they really don't have anything else, right? They have a story without motive, but they also have the fact that he was intoxicated. So maybe he was not in the right state of mind to not only utilize his skills and training as a lifeguard, but also be in the right capacity to remember what even happened, because he also stated that he passed out. Although that may seem like a convenient excuse, I do believe that the family, they need healing and closure. And because they don't have any additional evidence to suspect that he was involved, I think that this is their journey to healing, because they, in essence, accepted the fact that she drowned as opposed to him having involvement. And that's usually rare with families of the victims. They want to hold someone accountable. And so early in the stage, you would think that they would hold out on their statement until the investigation is truly complete or an official statement is made. But it appears that not only did they hug him and embrace him and thanked him for saving her life the first time, apparently after he saved her life, she then wandered away and drowned again, which is his story. I just think that the family wants healing and closure and accepted the fact that she could have possibly drowned and, gone with the sea.
Right, Casey. Joshua Riibe, I'm seeing reports that his passport is unaccounted for, that apparently, it was seized and missing and nobody seems to know where it is. So he may not be going anywhere anytime soon, depending upon what happens. Manuel, tell me, do you think it could be that investigators are on to someone else and they're just not letting the public know right now?
In the Dominican Republic, I would say that would be a correct assessment. Again, this is not America. They're going to put things aside and say, yeah, by chance, we can't find it right now. And that's another delay tactic they would do. I wouldn't be shocked if they keep him there another 3 weeks looking for the passport to stall to get time to continue this investigation. Again, this is too premature to say that she's dead. Julie, it's not even a month of an investigation. Even in America, a normal homicide would take at least 2 months, okay? This girl and this family, and I've spoken to the family, Julie, and the reason why they're doing this is 2 reasons. One, their culture, they don't want all this attention. And 2, this is a simple family. They're not that educated, and they believe what's being told to them rather than letting investigators do their job. And that's the sadness in this case.
Yeah, it sure is. Great insight, Manuel. I'm seeing NBC News reporting that the National Police did not confirm or deny that Riibe's passport was confiscated or that he had been unable to leave the hotel. So, it's kind of like, where is it? Officials, you either have that passport or you don't. You've moved on to another suspect or you haven't. Who knows? They never went so far as to declare him a suspect, but it raises an important conversation, Casey. They called him a person of interest. His face was plastered everywhere. We all recognize him. We all know his name. We've been talking about him for days. What does that do for him when he does go back to the United States? Can he ever get the cloud of suspicion off of him?
Julie, this has been a cry as a criminal defense attorney for years. I've tried many cases from misdemeanor to murder, but the murder cases are the ones that really make the headlines. And when my client is exonerated or when my client is vindicated by the jury and he's declared not guilty by the verdict, then you have to deal with the expungement process. And then after the expungement process, there is no law set in place where the media outlets can go back and either redact or come up with what is proper in this case. And that is the struggles that the defendants deal with. Even though they're innocent until proven guilty, sometimes it's like a word and not action coupled by it. So will he have a normal life? It's going to take a long time because he has to deal with everything that's on the internet. When you Google his name, that's always going to come up, and it could possibly affect future employment, even his schooling, because he may be ostracized. People will have their own opinions. You know how the court of public opinion works. All speculation, no facts. So it's going to be a difficult journey for a while until the laws are changed where the internet can be somehow scrubbed of the improper information, and that it's nearly impossible.
Right. I'm so glad we're having this conversation, Casey, because it is important to note that Look, he hasn't been charged with anything. There's been no evidence that's been put forward that he did anything to this young lady. We just know that he was with her and captured on film being with her. So everyone will draw whatever conclusions they may. We're not done talking about this story. We're going to continue following it every day as we get new developments. Manuel Gomez, I know we have to let you get going and get to your other many cases. Black Ops, Private Investigations is your company. Thank you so much for coming on today. Casey Early is coming with us, and we want you to do the same at home, please. When we come back, here's what we have on opening statements.
My situation in my housing department precludes me from doing that.
From asking for a continuance?
No, from getting things done in an effective and quick manner.
So how is Counselor Cult Mom doing as a pro se defendant? Our legal eagles are going to grade her. Plus, we've got a brand new docuseries out centering around defendant Karen Reed. Have you seen it? We'll talk about how it could impact her upcoming retrial. Cold-blooded killer or a complex cover-up? We're setting the stage for the big retrial for Karen Reed. Plus, the biggest cases trending in true crime.
Opening statements with Julie Grant. Mornings at 8/7 Central on Court TV.
Doomsday Cult Mom is now lawyer Lori.
She's representing herself
on charges of conspiring to murder her fourth husband.
She said, I can murder you now.
The Cult Mom conspiracy trial. Live coverage coming soon, only on Court TV.
I want to say what happened exactly as it happened. John was a Boston police officer. We went to the bar with a bunch of cops. Jen McCabe invited us to the Alberts. Last I ever talked to him when he got out of my car at Brian Albert's house.
Now for what's trending in true crime, defendant Karen Reed's retrial is fast approaching. She's accused of murdering her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. And now she's finding herself at the center of a brand new docuseries. An investigation discoveries a body in the snow, the trial of Karen Reed. The defendant opens up her Massachusetts home to the cameras and to questions. It shows her and her legal team gearing up for her trial in the death of Boston police officer John O'Keefe. The first trial, I want to be clear, not the retrial that's coming up in a matter of weeks. Now, Reed insists that the allegations against her are not true.
So, did you drive your car into John?
I did not drive my car into John. Didn't reverse it. Did not hit John with my car.
Is there any chance this was an accident?
There is zero chance this was an accident. There was zero chance John was hit by a vehicle.
You're tired of it? You spent so much...
No, I just... No, I'm not tired of it. I hate answering it because I feel like I'm being so scrutinized. Like, did she blink 3 times or twice? And did she, like, smirk or look to the right or down and up and left and whatever? And, like, it just feels so fake, even though it's true. I rather, like, explain everything else. And, like, I did not hit John with my car. Like, I can't make it sincere enough.
The 5-episode ID docuseries continues tonight. We're asking, how is Karen Reed coming across in the docuseries? Here to discuss, I'm so pleased to welcome back on the show award-winning investigative journalist, author, and podcaster M. William Phelps. Good morning to you. Matthew, welcome back. If I could start with the first question we're asking this morning, how do you think Karen Reed is coming off in this docuseries?
Well, you know, honestly speaking, it's hard for me to watch it all at once, so I have to watch it in kind of snippets. And I mean, I deal with these people all day long. I write about them, I interview them, and what I see is a lack of empathy on her part. And it's very sickening to me because we've seen this throughout the entire ordeal where she minimizes her role and kind of maximizes the victim's role and the victim's family's role. And the witness's role. So it's hard for me to watch that with any sort of credibility, if you will. And I'll just say, Julie,
Matthew, you know what? We're getting just pieces of your audio. It seems to be dropping out, and I want to hear every word you're sharing with us. Let's do this. We're going to take a look at your audio. No, that's okay. We're going to have our engineers take a look at it. I'm going to play another clip for our viewers, going to the point you just made about perhaps there's a lack of empathy we see with this woman when it comes to her boyfriend, the deceased, the real victim in all this, John O'Keefe. Let's take a listen to some of what she said about the fight for him.
I've never dated someone or been intimate with someone that they're just completely extricated. You can't get a hold of them anymore. It was just a weird feeling, but now I just want to save myself, and I just want to be who I was before this, and I care less about fighting for John.
She said, I care less about fighting for John. She's saying that she's concerned with saving herself. Matthew, I think we have you loud and clear now. I hope you could hear what we just played. Oh, there we go. You got a backup mic. Look, you're such a pro. Of course you do. Of course you got a backup mic. All right, your thoughts when you hear her actually say out loud how her bigger concern is herself, not John. Does it surprise you?
No, not at all. I mean, I deal with these types of people all the time. And look, I'm not saying that she is a sociopath. I'm not here to say that. I'm not a psychologist or a doctor, but the sociopaths that I have interviewed, and I've interviewed 100 probably, they always marginalize victims in order to minimize their role and to prop themselves up as the victim. I'm just saying. One quote in the first episode of that documentary really stood out to me, and it's very short. And she said, either Jen, meaning Jen McCabe, is going down for this, or I am. And to me, that summed up the entire conspiracy in one quote, right? It's either Jen or me, and it's not going to be me. And you see, that's not getting at the truth of what happened. That's not talking about justice or, you know, the facts. That's like waging war.
Right. I'm with you, Matthew. I'm with you on that. That was a moment where she said that about Jennifer McCabe. She has vilified this innocent witness, this woman who is a teacher, a PTA mom, a friend, a beloved friend of the O'Keefes. And Karen Reed has positioned her to be the her arch enemy. She's made her out to be the bad guy, all hanging her hat upon this Google search that the company Celebrate has come forward and said did not happen at 2:27 a.m. I can't say it enough.
The person who wrote the software even said so.
Exactly, Matthew. All right, I want to show you something else, how these two things intersected. Karen Reed's trial and this new docuseries. Yesterday, as you know, she was in court for a motions hearing ahead of her trial, and Hank Brennan, the brand new special prosecutor, took note of another change in Ms. Reed's story. Let's take a look.
We learned last night, for the first time on a public hearing of an episode, that the defendant suggests that Mr. O'Keefe took her vodka soda glass out of her car. Now, that is the first time we've had any statements from Ms. Reed suggesting that. And also, there was another statement regarding a claim that Ms. Reed pulled glass from John O'Keefe's face.
So another version of events from her. And Matthew, for any of our viewers who may not know, you did a brilliant podcast series on this case called 34 Fairview Road. It's outstanding. It's not the only podcast you've done several award-winning podcasts, Paper Ghost, Crossing the Line. But this is one that you've done as somebody just totally independent, coming in just to look at the facts. You did over 100 interviews in order to put the series out. Had you ever heard this story about her vodka soda glass and then her pulling the piece of glass off John O'Keefe's face?
No, this is new. And one thing I did say in the podcast that is kind of apropos to right now, and what Hank Brennan said yesterday is, the truth is a mountain. It doesn't move. It stands there on its own. And this, all of this, the glass up the nose, the changing of the stories, all the different versions of he went in the house, he didn't go in the house, he got out of the car. It's evolving, right? So again, going back to what I said, the truth is a mountain. It stands on its own right there. It does not move. And when you lie, and I'm not saying she's lying, but when you lie, the story evolves. It changes. And that's all I hear. There are so many stories that she has told. It's really, you need an Excel Word spreadsheet to keep up with it all. And that's all going to come back to her now in this second trial. And going back to what I want to say about that documentary is, why in the hell would you even do something like that? That's a hubristic move to want to sit there and talk about yourself for what she said, 400 hours of video they have of her. There's absolutely no benefit, no reason for her to do it. It can only hurt her, right? And a documentary like this is infotainment. It's not journalism. It's infotainment.
You are so right. I could talk to you all day, Matthew. I really could. Hank Brennan is going to have a field day pulling the clips from this and all the other interviews she's done with all the evolving stories, lots of evolving, as you noted. You are brilliant, my friend. And for anybody who doesn't know, you have written 39 nonfiction true crime books. So for anybody wondering all the interviews you've done, check out M. William Phelps's books, his podcasts, and check him out on this show again soon. We'll have you back very soon as this trial is quickly approaching. Matthew, thanks so much.
Nice to see you, Julie. Thank you.
Likewise. Coming up next here on Opening Statements.
State intends to show you evidence. There is bad blood between these two girls. And their living situation was highly toxic.
A cold case, 18 years old, being finally brought to the courtroom for trial. We're talking about what's tipping the scales in the toxic roommate trial for Nicole Rice. Oh, and we've got counselor cult mom Lori Vallow Daybell headed to trial in less than 2 weeks. Our legal eagles are doing some grading on how cult mom is doing representing herself. This morning, Doomsday cult mom Lori Vallow Daybell is in the spotlight because her trial starts in a matter of days in Arizona. And guess what? She's representing herself. She appeared in court on Tuesday to discuss the status of some outstanding discovery requests and the trial logistics. And Lori told His Honor that she's anxious to get to trial and doesn't want any delays.
This is one of those things where you have to weigh your options on whether it's worth it to get a continuance so you can have your defense do the work that you want done on your defense. But if you're telling me you don't want to do that.
I would like to do that, but my situation in my housing department precludes me from doing that.
From asking for a continuance?
No, from getting things done in an effective and quick manner.
Okay. All right, well, so you're telling me you don't want a continuance because any information you have at this point could be precluded as being untimely.
I understand that is the rule, and I understand how unfair and prejudicial that would be to me.
So how did Lori handle that with his honor? How do you think she's doing as her own attorney? We thought it'd be great to have our legal eagles grade her. Let's bring in criminal defense attorney and civil rights attorney Casey Early and criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Franz Borghardt on this. Okay, so let's start with how she doesn't want any delays, even if it means giving up that expert witness, her expert witness, somebody who could be favorable to her. Franz, I see you scratching your head. Will you start us off? How would you grade her on that?
I think she gets an A+ if we're trying the case on Mars, which we're not. So, okay, look, she's not going anywhere. She's already doing a significant jail sentence. Why not continue the matter? Why not get your expert? This just looks really stupid. Like, nobody's trying to rush her into a trial. So I'm going to give her a D- on this one, Julie, because your critical experts are kind of an essential part of your case, and not having them available and not having them at the trial, it's no bueno.
Right. Yeah, D-. Yeah, that may be generous, Franz. That's a good grade. That's a good grade for her. Casey, what do you think on that point?
If there was anything lower than an F, that is what she's deserving of. You know, I always say that no matter what, a pro se litigant could never usurp the education, training, and experience of a law school educated attorney. So let's start there. And then second, just like my colleague said, where are you going? What is the rush? When you file a demand for speedy, oftentimes it's strategic, and I do that a lot for strategic purposes. But in this case, Lori, you are serving a life sentence already because, and then her excuses to the court that it precludes her from doing certain things based on her housing confinement. This is why Gideon v. Wainwright, the landmark case, it affords indigent clients or those who cannot afford counsel the ability to have an attorney. I do not feel sorry for her. She's doing this all for attention. This is going to be a speedy conviction, and she is doing horrible when she has standby counsel, which she should just wave the white flag and let a law school educated attorney who is barred and licensed to do their job, because she's not doing herself any good by representing herself.
Casey, tell us how you really feel. I'm loving this conversation with you too. I got another clip for you both. Let's look when the issue comes up about her possibly testifying. Let's see her short exchange with the judge now.
I presume the defendant will likely testify, so I didn't know if we wanted to address that now.
Are you prepared to address that now?
No.
I generally will, I guess I'll advise the defendant now that if you choose to testify, it's likely that the jury would hear about the convictions.
Okay, she kept it brief, as you saw, just one word. No, not prepared to talk about this at this point. Franz, how would you grade her on that?
That actually was pretty good. I'm okay with not forcing my hand as a defense attorney. You know, she has no obligation to testify, but the judge telegraphed something that a good attorney would advise her, which is, hey, these other convictions aren't going to come in unless you get on the stand, which the rules of evidence let them come in if you get on the stand. So maybe you should not get on the stand. So I will say that was good job on her part. I will give her an A on that. That was the right answer.
Nice, Franz. Thank you for that. Casey, do you agree? A on that point to not give it away?
She still gets an F because
not moving off that F.
simply because she still insists on representing herself, and she didn't catch what the judge was throwing. That if you do testify, and really, this is a losing case because she has to testify to explain, you know, what the allegations are against her and come up with the reason why she was not involved. But those convictions are coming in, and let me tell you, those convictions are absolutely terrible for her defense. So he's trying to throw her a bone. And then on top of that, you're representing yourself. So it's going to be in a narrative form, and it's just not going to come off cohesive. And it's going to do her a grave injustice. So because of that alone, even with that one simple response, she still gets an F. And she has time to withdraw her demand for speedy and seek counsel. And I hope she's listening to this.
Yeah, you're so right. Let's talk about that. Franz, let me go back to you on that. Clearly, she needs help with her bad grades. She needs a tutor. She needs something. Tell me, what should she do? Like Casey said, there's still time to not do this. What can she do right now to help herself?
So if I were her, I would say, you know, Judge, I'm in over my head. I do want to exercise my constitutional right to counsel, and I would like to use the standby counsel who, as we've stated, are licensed attorneys who, by the way, they have an ethical obligation to zealously defend me. So I'm going to put them in play. I'm going to withdraw my speedy trial motion because really there's no benefit to that for her. And I'm going to try to put my best case forward. I'm going to try to get those witnesses. I'm going to communicate with my attorneys and tell them what I think is important. But ultimately, I'm going to let them be the drivers of the ship.
I love it. Great advice. Like Casey said, I hope she's listening. We know she watches Court TV because she doesn't like what she calls the commercial with her and Chad. She says it's unfair. You know, she put herself in that courtroom in Idaho. We did not. We just filmed it. Casey Early and Franz Borghardt, you two are the best. I've loved this conversation this morning. We're going to keep talking after the break. Here's what's next on Opening Statements.
On the early morning hours of June 3rd, 2007, Nicole Thomas Rice stabbed Anita Knutson twice in the chest, killing her.
Siblings, roommates, they fight. This is a show.
We're talking about how investigators tipped the scales of justice in the case against Nicole Rice. And in our next hour, the military wife murder trial resumes. We're going live to Kentucky together. Get ready for what is perhaps the final day of case evidence.
Grieving widow or mastermind behind a murder.
Monica Cimentelli is accused of plotting to kill her husband.
Famed celebrity hairstylist Fabio Cimentelli.
Prosecutors say she and her lover killed Fabio to collect a big life insurance policy.
The defense may say she's a bad woman, but she wouldn't be involved in a murder.
It's a whodunit Hollywood story, but will there be a twist that no one sees?
The celebrity stylist murder trial, today, only on Court TV.
Now for what's tipping the scales in the newest trial we are tracking for you. We're calling it the toxic roommate trial for Nicole Rice. That defendant is accused of stabbing her roommate Anita Knutson to death in 2007. The case went cold for over 15 years until investigators zeroed in on Ms. Rice. Investigators say Rice was always a person of interest, but they just never had enough evidence to arrest her. That was until 2022. Court TV reporter Cody Thomas has more.
On June 4, 2007, in Minot, North Dakota, Gordon Knutson could not reach his 18-year-old daughter Anita, so he went to her apartment. Through an open window, he saw her laying on her bed, reached in, and discovered she was cold. She had 2 stab wounds and bled to death. For 15 years, Anita's murder haunted the town.
I wish we could have solved this sooner.
Then, 2 cold case investigators were assigned full-time, and the department brought in resources from the oxygen hit Cold Justice.
Now, after nearly 15 years of investigating and following up on leads, and the suspect is in custody.
That suspect, Nicole Rice, who was Nicole Thomas back then.
She was the roommate at the time of the murder.
The 35-year-old married mom was working at the Minot Air Force Base as a civilian when she was taken into custody in March of 2022. Police say in 2007 she told them she was at her parents' farm 20 miles away when Anita was killed. And over the years, her story changed a lot.
Probably at least dozens, but probably over maybe over 100 statements that were taken.
Police say she lied to them about where she was when Anita was killed, as well as tension with Anita before the murder. A former boyfriend says she confessed to him while drunk, and another witness said after Anita's murder, Nicole referred to her in ways we can't repeat here. Police say Nicole's reputation at the time was hot-tempered and reactionary, while Anita was seen as kind and likable.
There was not one person that had anything bad to say about Anita. So to me, this was a young girl with a great future that was taken away from her family way too soon.
Nicole Rice is charged with 1 count of felony murder, a Class AA felony in North Dakota that carries a maximum sentence of life without parole.
That was Cody Thomas reporting there. Testimony is going to resume at 2 p.m. Eastern Time in North Dakota. And did you know the chief of police, John Klug, who his detectives had worked this case, they credited Oxygen's cold justice for a break in the case, as Anita Knutsen's case was featured in an episode, and from there everything went forward, and fortunately they caught a break. So that was mentioned. Now let's talk about what's going to tip the scales in this case. You know, when you have a cold case, sometimes you can have some problems. Let's bring back in our legal eagles, Casey Early and Franz Borghardt, and get their thoughts. Casey, would you start us off? Your thoughts on this one and how it might play out, please?
It's still going to be a difficult case for the state. Typically, when you have older cases, you're dealing with memory that fades from the witnesses, but you're also dealing with the lack of evidence. So in a circumstantial case, you do have what they're saying would be the motive, that there was bad blood between the roommates, and that the defendant in this case was reactionary in a negative way, and then the victim was not. But is that enough to secure a conviction? If they're going to call an ex-boyfriend who's going to claim that she made a statement while she was drunk, is that a sufficient statement? Like, I don't believe that it is a strong enough case. And oftentimes I do look at these documentaries in a different light, because again, it's the court of public opinion. It's someone else's opinion that's driving the documentary, and whether or not that evidence is admissible in court versus what is being played out. So it is going to be difficult for the state, but at the same time, the defendant better square up her alibi, because inconsistent alibi would appear to be that she is lying, and that doesn't go very well with the jury.
All right, Casey, great points. Franz, to you next, please. How do you envision this one playing out?
So I think it's the defense's ball to drop. I think she needs to explain, look, I don't know what I had for breakfast 2 days ago. That's why my alibis may be inconsistent. I mean, this was a cold case. It was a long time ago. I think there's some navigability there. I think the other issue is circumstantial evidence. Look, I know this is going to come as a shock to you two ladies. There are people in this world that don't like me, that I have bad blood to with, that I don't murder. That I don't murder.
Of course
so
not.
Bad blood is not, I just don't see that as a sufficient, with this thin of a circumstantial evidence case. What I would say is it is the defense's ball to drop. They need to hammer the reasonable doubt of the circumstantial evidence. And look, justice is this. Justice is, we think somebody committed a crime, they get a trial, and if the state doesn't prove it, we keep it moving. And it's unfortunate, but that is what it is. And here, I think there's arguments for reasonable doubt. I do think they have a ball that they can drop, though, and I do agree that without some good explanation of certain things, it's going to look suspicious and smell funny. So I would say lean into the cold case. Lean into the fact that, look, I don't remember what happened 2 days ago, let alone all the way back to this time.
Right. And friends, you brought up bad blood. Let's end the show with a clip from Anita's stepmother talking about how Anita was terrified of Nicole.
You said that things were not good between Anita and Nicole.
No, they didn't run in the same circles from what I gathered from Anita. You know, they had separate friends.
When you talked about things not being good between Anita and her roommate, was there anything specific?
She would say things like, I have to do this or that before Nicole gets home. Just not comfortable things. One time I went over with her to the apartment, and she said she had to feed the fish so they wouldn't die, because if they were dead when Nicole came home, she was afraid what Nicole would do.
2 o'clock, testimony is going to resume in that one. Big thanks to our legal analyst guests, Casey Early and Franz Borghardt. And big thanks to you at home for being with us.